Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, men, women, and children of all ages. This is Jive Sports. I'm joined by my co-host and a very special guest. We're going to pretend these conversations for the first 5 minutes are organic because we ran for about 5 minutes without recording due to a blunder on my part. But I'll give the floor to Keith. Keith, go ahead and give us your socials for the first time again, and what you've been up to and everything.
Yes, 411 Lions podcast I do with my sister. We talk about Detroit Lions football, talk about other Detroit related things every now and then as well, but mostly football. You can find us on TikTok. You can find us on Facebook, on YouTube, 411 Lions. Definitely check us out. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter at _ Dr. King Stream. And then, of course, as I mentioned, living in New Jersey, apparently snow is coming for the first time in what feels like since I moved
When
here.
did you mention that? Fuck.
Yeah. Apparently, some snow is coming this way. So we're just kind of vibing until we get buried or don't.
Skylar, got any news, topics, ideas, thoughts?
No, just bracing for this AFC Championship game and hoping we can get back to a Super Bowl.
I'm gonna save the Patriots thing for the Patriots when we get there, to kind of give our minds a little bit of a chance to pretend and process these things didn't happen. So let's jump into real quickly, or for the first little segment here, the college football playoffs. What are your thoughts, Keith? What do you think of Indiana? What do you think of the whole system and the games in general?
Yeah. As we had talked about already, I think the extension thing threw me off. It definitely threw me off that it was so late. I think it was like the 21st or something like that the national championship was being played. It's just too late. It interferes with too many things. Too many other things are going on at the time. But at the same time, it was a good game. It was competitive. It was interesting. I thought there were a lot of high level players on the field, some NFL guys. Indiana
Absolutely.
obviously has a very veteran team, I guess you could say. Decent amount of age, but a lot of good guys out there. Mendoza made some huge plays. That run that he made to score the touchdown was huge. So,
Yes, it
I mean,
was.
it was a good game. It just was very it felt like it lacked some kind of energy, maybe. And maybe it was because it was in Miami and Miami was losing, but it felt like there was something that just, it didn't feel like a national championship game necessarily. But shout out to Indiana, 16-0. Can't take anything away from them. I'm very happy to beat Ohio State, obviously. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, much credit to them.
And Miami knocked Ohio State out of the playoffs, but you're talking about the Big Ten championship game.
At this point, both of them, because anybody that beats Ohio State is a friend.
Skydog, you got ideas and opinions about the college football playoffs and the results?
And not really. I mean, I would like to see it moved up. I think it'd be better if they sort of condense the rest of the bowl season. That way we could maybe play rivalry week the week before Thanksgiving. We could do conference championships Thanksgiving weekend, and then maybe try to get the national championship either back to the week after New Year's or on New Year's Day, maybe.
You got any thoughts about Indiana, Mendoza, Signetti, Miami?
Oh, I absolutely love Kurt Signetti. I mean, you want to talk about just a good old ball coach. And Mendoza, I think he's the first Heisman Trophy winner, I think, that's had his Heisman moment after he won the trophy. So that run was something you're never going to take away from him. You're going to be seeing on highlights for a long time.
Yeah, and he got blasted too.
Absolutely. And I saw something. The guy that he ran over, the safety that he ran over on the way to that touchdown, actually took a pretty big hit on him when he was at Cal the year before. Actually took him out of the game.
Look at you, interweaving things. So you guys touched on something that I've been kind of thinking about a lot too, is that I think we need to eliminate some of these early season non-conference like cupcake games. I was just watching a video. There's a YouTube channel I've been like binging. It's called like the Hardcore History of College Football. A guy named John Johnston, and he had just posted a video yesterday about how Division 2 and 3 have like 40 team playoffs,
Yeah, they have a
and
full like a almost a March Madness style playoff.
and nobody complains. There's no like ambiguity between how things are weighed and who thinks what, because I guess they have like a power index that they just refer to anytime there's a question about anything. And they put on great tournaments every single year. I would like to see like the first two non-conference games knocked off, and like you guys said, start 2 weeks earlier, like like end of November, early December, and get this thing done in a month. Do like the first round, cut it down in half, seed, and have the top four seeds get their bye, and then there you go. Um, yeah, I mean Indiana, crazy story there because we've all grown up in Michigan, Michigan fan, Big Ten fans. My very first football game ever was Michigan versus Indiana, like 2004, 2003, 2004 ish. Chad Henne and Steve Breston, Braylon Edwards, Mike Hart, and we of course kicked their ass because that's kind of been their story forever. Nutty's great. Mendoza, I'm not sure. I feel bad for him because he's going to go to the Raiders, and
Mm.
that's not because it does look really nice when you have a great offensive line and a great defense. That D'Angelo Pons, man, I
I was gonna
want
say
that guy.
he
I
plays with
want
his
that
heart.
guy.
That's the
His
key. He
his
knows
draft
when to
stock
step it
just
up.
skyrocketed. What a game for him. Um, with Mendoza, I don't have anything against him. To me, like Keith mentioned, Indiana's not very flashy or like exciting. They're just kind of like no nonsense, uh, disciplined, no mistakes, pound the ball, great defense, and Mendoza makes plays when he has to. Um, so like I said, I feel bad for him because he's going to Raiders, and I don't think they have any of that stuff. They have Ginty and Bowers, but the defense is mid, and the line sucks, and the receiving core is suspect. So it's going to get rocky there. People think you can just he's going to do what he's doing now there, and that's hard to do when you don't have the complementary pieces around you. But I don't know about you guys. This feels special in a different kind of way because I feel like now when I see Fernando doing interviews or that run, I feel like I'm seeing the documentary that's going to be made 20 years from now about him. You know what I mean? Like these moments and these comments and these interactions and these things that I feel like I'm seeing like the Tom Brady shit now, but you didn't see that with him. You know what I mean? Because he was 199. You guys have any thoughts about Mendoza going to the Raiders?
Yeah, I think the structure behind these young quarterbacks and what people have for them really makes the difference early on. And I think if the coaching is not stable, I think if the offensive line is not stable, if you can't provide them like a decent running game to be able to lean back on, these guys can't succeed. Even like a Cam Moore, for example, like Tennessee gave him pretty much nothing to work with, and even though he made the amazing, fantastic throw every now and then, the consistency just wasn't there. Um, Jackson Dart, I think, is somebody who also like I think he had a little bit more to work with, but also like the coach him put him in like very aggressive positions, which
Absolutely. They
yeah, that's a little bit that situation's a little bit different. But I look at with the Vegas Raiders, like I it's just not a lot there. And I don't know if they've picked a head coach yet. Have they?
Not
I
yet,
was
no.
about to mention that. I was like, man, they're running out of options now. Everyone's getting hired, and they still don't have a head coach. And you're talking about stability and whatever. Well, you need a head coach to freaking. That's a start.
Yeah, I don't know what the path is for them to be successful next year. I mean, obviously you got to draft really well, and taking a quarterback at that 1-1 kind of spot is I don't know. I feel like you almost need that pick to put certified talent around a quarterback versus putting a quarterback there without the certified talent around them. So I don't know. I don't envy whose job it is to figure out that mess, but it is a mess.
Go ahead, Skyler.
So I'm under the personal belief I think they should skip out on Mendoza completely. I think they should try to call up Arizona, who has the number 3 pick. Swap picks. You can take either Caleb Downs or Francis Malgoa at 3. You can go out and get a Mac Jones, Davis Mills, Carson Wentz, somebody that's a reliable quarterback that's not going to blow you away, but if you bring in a good head
Malik
coach,
Willis,
Malik Willis, somebody that is a
Tanner
serviceable.
McKee.
Okay, let's not get crazy. Somebody that could be a serviceable starting quarterback. That way, you can build a team around it, and then you're going to be picking top 5 next year most likely. You can get a quarterback in what's supposed to be a good quarterback draft class, or just supposed to be a great draft class overall. Build up the rest of the team. You can figure out the quarterback spot later. We've seen it. Look at Seattle. All they did, they built the defense. They built their wide receivers from the ground up. They built their running game. All they did was went and signed Sam Darnold, and here we are, a game away from a Super Bowl.
And,
Yeah,
and, and Cooper and Rashid.
Right, but Rashid Shaheed doesn't do much besides return and
Doesn't do much.
doesn't don't take that as I'm saying he doesn't deserve any credit, but outside of being a return specialist and sort of a gadget guy on offense, they don't really use him as a receiver, and Cooper Kupp hasn't come on until really the playoffs.
That's fair. Go ahead, Keith.
yeah, no, I agree completely. I do think that that is the path to success. If you are a team that is that devoid of talent, like they have so many holes to fill that you get a quarterback that has potential. Um, but what do you do with those holes still? Like those holes are going to suck that quarterback like the life out of them. No quarterback is going to succeed without an offensive line, and their offensive line is about as bad as any I've seen. The receivers, even Jacoby Myers, they traded away Jacoby Myers. Like you can't have Mendoza throwing jump balls to Trey Tucker. Like, what are we doing here? You double Brock Bowers, and then
Well,
at that point, the
that's
team's
what
cooked.
That's what Dante Thornton's for. It's for those jump balls. He's sick. He's 6'4" with 4.3 speed. I mean,
You know, and a guy like that, you hope pans out. But yeah,
We see him all the time. Got all the size and speed, and then your Quentin Johnston or
you're going to see another one come out in this draft class, and Chris Brazell from Tennessee.
mm-hmm. Yep, a lot of guys who just don't have any kind of wiggle, don't create separation, none of those things. You got to have those kind of guys, which is why I think a receiver like a Mekhi Lemon in this draft will be huge for certain teams because he's a guy that just makes plays. But the Raiders don't really have a lot of that. And so you put a quarterback into that foundation. I mean, if they can take the lumps for those first couple of years without their confidence being completely shot, then maybe you can figure it out. But yeah, I agree. I think that you build everything else instead of taking a quarterback who really doesn't have a lot of upside anyway. I think he can be good, but he doesn't look like a quarterback that's going to be great anyway to me. So I don't think it's worth the shot. I wouldn't even take him over like a Cam Ward, who at least has like elite arm talent, like can make all the throws. Mendoza reminds me a little bit of Jared Goff as a Lions fan. He does. And as we can see, Goff is great when you have great structure, but when you don't, he looks kind of bad.
yeah. So being a Giants fan, this year going into the 2025 draft, I was like, I want them to get the pieces so that when they do get a quarterback, everything is in place already and he can hit the ground running. And then when they traded back into the first and got Dart, I was okay with it because Dart was besides Cam Ward, Dart was the only other quarterback that I felt a little bit of optimism about. So I was happy with that. But I'm like, get another receiver, get that line fixed, get all the shit in place so that when you do get the guy, he doesn't have to fucking be Superman. But yeah, I don't know, man. Fernando Mendoza, obviously, very smart with the football, high football IQ, but like Keith mentioned, I haven't really seen a lot of like there's something he can do that other guys can't, or very few can. He's just very stereotypical pocket passing quarterback. He's got the 6'5", 225 build, but he doesn't blow me away as far as like ability. He's just smart and he's got great pieces around him and an amazing head coach. And the Raiders don't even have a coach, so
I mean, but that's
maybe you want to get a coach in there so you can start talking about what you're going to do with your picks What are you doing over there, Tom? How about you get off the broadcasting team and go in there and do your job?
I
What's
don't
the
know. See,
plan here?
that's
Sure.
that's why I think they'd be perfect to swap with Arizona. I mean, if you give the Cardinals the opportunity to, they could even dump Kyler Murray into Vegas. There's your quarterback, and you can start Mendoza in an offense that has Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, Trey McBride, whatever they find out, with the running back room over the offseason. You go and get a head coach like either Chris Shula or Clint Kubiak, somebody that can either bring that McVay system into the fold, or Clint Kubiak, who's been a successful coordinator the last couple seasons right now with Seattle.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of trading back, especially when you don't have a Joe Burrow or Cam Newton or Andrew Luck or uh, you know whatever Caleb Williams type talent where you can see it and it looks different than everybody else. So that's that. That's the Raiders. They're going to be picking high again next year. Um, Shout out Dante Moore for saying I don't want to be a Jet. But speaking of the NFL, divisional round last weekend. Keith, my guy, tell me about it. It's like we'll just start with um, I don't know what games were Saturday, which games were Sunday. Let's start with Bills Jags. What do you think about Bills Jags? Or no, that was
That was Saturday. That was a Saturday game. That was the first game of the weekend. It was Bills, Jags, Seahawks, Niners, Patriots, Texans, and then the Rams and Bears.
I don't even know what I'm freaking bamboozled. So
Bills and
divisional
Broncos were
round.
first.
No, that was the weekend before. So Bills
No, Bills.
Broncos.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I
Bills
said
Broncos was.
Bills Jags, but Bills
I don't.
Broncos.
I don't recognize the Jaguars. It's fine.
Well, you're crazy. You picked them in that first game. All right,
I
Keith.
did.
Bills Broncos. Thoughts?
So many thoughts from that game. For one, in case anybody had any question, of course, that was an interception that McMillan came up with. Very interesting game from Josh Allen. I know that there's the whole,
That's interesting coming from you because I have thoughts about those types of plays.
yeah,
I do too, but we'll save those.
Because the Lions had a couple similar situations where I was on the Lions side saying that what I think it was the Bucks game. That's not interception. I don't know. I think you're down and you get the ball ripped out of your hands, kind of. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, we had the OG complete the process of the catch with the Calvin Johnson situation way back in 2011. If they told me that wasn't a catch on the wide receivers end, whatever the hell Brandon Cooks was doing was not a catch either. But yeah, I mean, overall, I thought it was a very interesting game. I thought that Josh Allen definitely could have played better. But at the same time, I mean, I just feel like, again, the Bills are one of those teams where, like, outside of the quarterback, there isn't. I don't want to say there's not a lot because they have a good offensive line. They do have a really good running game, which I don't think they're relying on enough. But as far as the receiver position, they kind of just don't give Josh Allen a lot to work with. But at the same time, him turning the ball over 4 times, like, you just don't usually win playoff games like that. So I'm not a big fan of the whole, oh, we feel so bad for him, blah, blah, blah. He'll get his eventually. He will. But he could have played better himself. The Broncos defense is feisty, though I am surprised that the Bills were able to put up as many points as they were against them. And it should be interesting to see again how they play against New England this weekend. But yeah, Bo Nix with the ankle thing it was strange. It was a very strange occurrence. It still is kind of hard to figure out what exactly, like, how did the Broncos bounce back from something like that? That feels like it didn't really need to happen, but it happened. So I'm intrigued to see what this Broncos team does. I mean, I'm pretty sure the game's in Denver. It's in Denver, right? They were number 1 seed.
Yeah, it's in Denver.
Yeah, it's a really hard place to go into and play. So it'll be a really interesting game. But yeah, the Bills Broncos thing, a lot of controversy. I surprisingly thought the refs did okay for once.
Yeah. My issue with those interception plays is that the rule is supposed to be that tie goes to the offensive player, and I feel like it was hard to tell who had possession of it. And if you can't tell who has possession of it, that should mean that it should be the receiver's possession. And if he's down by contact, then you can't rip the ball out afterwards. Is kind of how I feel about those types of plays. I thought the Lions got screwed when those things happened too. Um, but I'll let Skydog jump in there real quick. I just wanted to say it before I forgot.
To me, I mean, it's an interception. I mean, the last Bills Patriots game we had in Foxborough, there were two of these plays. One when each team was on offense. The one where we were on offense was called an interception and ruled Buffalo ball. The one during Buffalo's or no during during Buffalo's offensive possession was ruled a catch for the Bills and a pass interference on us. So I have no
Uh
sympathy.
huh.
I have no sympathy for
Uh
anything
huh.
Buffalo.
What
I
a
am
what
I
a
am
skewed
I
perspective.
am I am enjoying watching that franchise just crumble this week.
I have kind of mixed feelings about Josh Allen. I don't watch a lot of like the Hard Knocks and like you know shows where they go and like the QB show and wide receiver show on Netflix and stuff. I don't watch those. My girlfriend's starting to watch a lot of those now, so she probably knows more about these players than I do. She's always like, what do you think about this guy? And I'm like, he's a good player. I don't know what he does in his personal life. I don't care who players date or what they do in their off time. I just like the player. But I did watch a couple episodes of Hard Knocks the first couple because I thought doing this podcast it might be something to talk about for content fodder. And I feel like I don't know if I like Josh Allen. I feel like he's too nice. It's too weird. And then the crying after the game kind of made me think this guy's a politician. Like he just cost them the game and he knows he did and he wants the fans to know that he cares so much. But if you cry like that, you can't really like be mean to him or too harsh because he's already being hard on himself. Um, but very interesting situation with the Sean McDermott thing and the whole kind of Bills moving forward because a lot of people are saying, why didn't you fire uh, Bean and keep McDermott? Because the Bills, I guess, are going to be like $11 million like above the salary cap. So they their salary cap has been mismanaged and they don't have a lot of big, pieces to show for it. And Sean McDermott kind of making chicken salad out of chicken shit out of chicken salad or however that thing's going. Um, it was a fun game. A lot of turnovers. I think what was there like? I don't know. I can't remember. But Broncos win, and then the big news is obviously we find out shortly after the game, within like 15 minutes or 20 minutes, Bo Nix has broken his ankle, and then I love the out for season thing. Like there's, there's like one or maybe two more games if you're lucky, so he's out for the week.
Yeah, I thought the McDermott thing definitely was surprising. I did not really see that coming. I just look at the Bills roster and I'm like, I don't see a team that's supposed to be in the Super Bowl. I don't see a team that this coach is like getting to underachieve necessarily. I think that they finished right about where they should, which is like maybe top four in the conference. But to let him go, and then obviously the GM, questionable record outside of running and picking Josh Allen. I guess you get credit for that. But outside of that, I just don't think that this roster is like without very many holes. I mean, a very low level run defense, which for some reason playoff teams didn't really expose well. Um, yeah, I didn't think that was like a Super Bowl team or like a team that was underachieving. I guess if you want to try and find the guy, I don't know if they're thinking that's Brian Daboll or what the situation is where they're bringing him in as OC. I don't know what's going on there, but I didn't think that was necessarily the greatest move. Like, are you going to replace Sean McDermott with somebody better?
I'm kind of almost leaning towards because I saw today that I think Mike McDaniel's getting interviewed uh, very soon, either today or tomorrow, or whatever. And I'm wondering if they think that's a good idea because they want the offensive mind to get Josh Allen, even though he's already having to play Superman, make him just that much better, or alleviate some of the pressure on him by being able to scheme other guys open. Um, any final thoughts on Broncos Bills?
Well, to comment on the Bills coaching search, I saw they're doing in-person interviews in, I think it was Florida over the weekend. So you'll probably see a head coach announced probably Sunday night or Monday. But Mike McDaniel's one of them. From what I've seen, Daboll's considered the favorite for the job.
Mm.
That'd be interesting.
It would be interesting because I don't know if watching the Giants the past couple years was enough to get anybody off of him or say he didn't have enough to work with. We're going to give him a chance with our offense. James Cook just led the league in rushing yards. We've got what's widely considered a top 3 quarterback by just about anybody that's ranking quarterbacks in the NFL. But I don't think they're going to be able to do better than Sean McDermott.
Yeah, I mean, the Dable thing tricked me because I was told that Dable was the one that fixed Josh Allen. And I'm like, all right, cool. He's going to come to New York and fix Danny Jones. And I don't know who's more responsible for the Giants, like play calling. I know Mike Kafka's the OC, but Dable's supposed to be the guru. And I was very unimpressed way more often than not watching the Giants because I questioned a lot of things that they would do, especially in red zone and goal line stuff. But I guess Brian Dable to the Bills would be kind of like the most interesting thing.
Yeah, I think interesting is definitely a word. It can go any kind of way. I mean, with a Josh Allen talent, you should be able to get a lot out of the offense. But yeah, there's some other questionable things about Brian Daboll. But who knows? Maybe he deserves another job.
That's another conversation about these coaches getting so many chances. I don't want to see Mike McCarthy in Pittsburgh. He doesn't deserve
No,
it.
I don't think anybody wants to see that personally. The way that everything ended
We
in Green Bay, the way that everything turned out in Dallas. I mean, look at the last year of Dallas with McCarthy versus this year with Brian Schottenheimer. Two
he's
completely
just
different teams.
Brian Schottenheimer made me not hate the Cowboys so much this year. I love watching his post game locker room rants and shit like that. But Mike McCarthy is so uninspiring and boring. And he could win a Super Bowl if you give him the best quarterback in the league and a top defense. That's
Yeah, it's
ooh.
a no on the retreads. Those kind of guys, like he just doesn't raise the team ceiling whoever he's going to. Like he may keep them where they are, but yeah, he's not taking Pittsburgh to like the next level.
And I mean, even though I'm a Giants fan, they're franchises that you kind of learn to respect and appreciate. And the Steelers are one of those franchises where it's like there's so much history there. Steelers fans are rabid. They got that Yinzy thing going.
Yinzer.
But I just don't think he deserves to be a coach of a team like that. He can go be, I don't know, the Raiders coach. How about that? Go to the Raiders.
I don't think Tom's gonna let that happen.
But I respect the black and yellow, and they deserve better than Mike McCarthy. How about this? See my Seahawks versus the San Francisco what's it, or what happened to them, or who are they, or
I mean,
Yeah.
it's
go
this.
ahead,
It's the
Keith.
same. Yeah, let Keith go. Let Keith go first.
Okay. I was just gonna.
He's the real guest.
Really, the only thing to talk about is the Seahawks defense. They are legit, and they have built it in a way that I think wasn't noticeable early on. And then you start to look at the players that they've accumulated, and in the scheme that they run, and you're like, oh, this is a really, really good defense. Like they stop the run, they play really aggressive in the pass. Obviously, again, as a Michigan guy, I feel like there are a bunch of Michigan connections to the NFL, but Mike McDonald, we all know what kind of defensive mind he them. So extremely, extremely impressive on the Seahawks part. Offensively, fine, good enough. They can run the ball. They have high level receivers. They do a little bit of everything. So I would put them as kind of the Super Bowl favorite right now in my eyes. The people that are left. San Francisco, though, I mean, they were just like decimated by injuries and stuff. So it was kind of only so much that they were going to get done anyway. But this Seahawks team looks for real. They look for real.
Skydog.
I mean, it's sort of the same story that happened a couple weeks ago when San Francisco came into town and they were playing for that number one seed. I mean, that game wasn't competitive either. And Sam Darnold came into this possibly not even playing, and they threw the ball less than 20 times. He had under 150 yards passing, but he didn't turn the ball over. He made smart decisions with it, and they got a lot of help from the defense. They got the opening kick return for a touchdown by Shaheed. Ken Walker really ran the ball successfully, which is going to be a big key against the Rams. The Rams are most exposed defensively to a good running offense. I think you could see Ken Walker be a superstar for this team for the rest of these playoffs if he keeps running the ball like he did this last weekend.
I'm gonna try to kill some time and see if we can get. I think it looks like he got disconnected. Um, yeah, the Seahawks. During the year we're talking about JSN going for the record, and how amazing it was because the Seahawks offense doesn't throw the. I think they were like last in passing percentage as far as play calls go. And I feel like they played that kind of grind it out, run the ball defense, and they only pass when they absolutely have to. Charbonnet has been effective all year. I think he had 12 touchdowns during the season. Obviously, Ken Walker is the man. Um, so it's kind of nice to be able to, run the ball well, and then when you need to, you have JSN and Cooper and
Well,
Rashid
that's been sort of their issue throughout the year, was trying to figure out how to balance Charbonnet and Ken Walker. Mike McDonald, over a couple different interviews in the season, said that they were looking into, the Lions and Carolina with Rico Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard, and really trying to figure out how to effectively use the two running backs together. If anything, I think Charbonnet getting hurt where he did this year is kind of helpful to them. I think Seattle's a hell of a better team when Ken Walker gets the Lions' share of the work in the running game. He's such an electric guy. You can use him in the receiving game, the rushing game. I mean, he's one of those guys, if you give him the ball 30 times, he's probably going to break one for at least a 20 or 30-yard run, whether it's a touchdown or not.
Yeah, we had the same kind of thoughts when that happened. I was like, the Seahawks just got better. You don't wish injury on anybody, but um,
It
yeah,
unclogs the offense, is how I'd put it.
that's a good description because I think most people would agree that Ken Walker is the better back, and a lot of us are kind of like, how come uh, they're rotating so much? Why is it so like evenly split? You'd like to see Ken Walker get like 70, 80% of them, and maybe every third series let Charbonnet go in for a couple plays or something.
Yeah, I think they would benefit more if they used those two guys, sort of like the Lions used Gibbs and Montgomery this year, as opposed to how they were before, was rotating drives. I just
Yeah.
think Ken Walker's the kind of guy you got to really let him play and get him used to the flow of the game instead of pulling him out so much.
Yeah, I believe in rhythm too. Like, um,
Absolutely.
you kind of get that adrenaline going, and you get pumped up when you make a play, and you're kind of like you're loose, and I believe that's a real thing, and that these teams, the Rams do it a lot with Corum and Kyron splitting every other series. It seems they cost me money on TD parlays because they had that
You
interception
never know.
like it was like maybe the last game or second to last game of the season, and intercept the ball down to the one, and I'm like, if Kyron scores, it's like $600, but they're gonna put Corum in and cost me, and then they did. Um, but a little bit of transparency for the people, the handful of people that watch, in our little group chat. We have a little running gag going, touchdown Seahawks at random moments because uh, they can score all over the place, and they bury people when things are good, they're really good, and they bury people quickly. If you give them a chance, so Rashid started the game off with a kick return, and we ended the game 41-6, complete massacre of the 49ers to the point now where they're entertaining conspiracy theories.
I mean, matter of fact, I think Seattle scored 3 more times since we started this podcast.
I'm gonna check my sources. That is accurate.
That's what I thought.
It's
Keep
really funny.
hearing Lumen Field going crazy right now.
All right, bud. Texans Patriots. Tell me why I'm wrong and you're right. And
I mean, I'm glad that we won. I'm glad that we won, somewhat comfortably. I mean, it felt closer most of the game than what it may have seemed.
or
My
should have
main
been.
concern is the offensive line containing Denver's pass rush. If we had this kind of struggle against Houston, I mean, Denver led the league in sacks this year. They were at one point on
I was
pace
gonna bring
to
that up.
yeah, at one point this season they were on pace to break the single season records for sacks as a team. I mean, this is Jonathan Franklin Myers, Zach Allen, Nick Benito. This is a scary front four where I don't know how we're gonna do. Morgan Moses on the right side didn't allow a single sack in this game. Daniil Hunter got lucky on a little swipe and knocked the ball out of Drake May's hand on while he was blocking him. But Will Campbell's got to either figure something out, or hopefully we can get some more chips on these guys, something to slow the pass rush down enough. The one thing that I will say that Drake's got to work on after watching that game is he almost appears too comfortable in the pocket. He doesn't seem like he's got that clock going where I gotta move, I gotta get out of here. Because when he was starting to actually throw the ball, I mean, Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter were basically on top of him, and they just had to reach out and knock the ball away.
Yeah, so I was gonna talk about some of that stuff. We'll get to that in the division or the conference championship. Yeah, that's kind of going back to me kind of trolling you a little bit about not being truly or um, battle tested when you don't have very many tough games on the schedule. I think you can kind of get into those, get lulled into complacency. So I think the Texans coming out and punching them. Well, the defense was punching them in the mouth. The offense wasn't really doing a whole lot. But as you mentioned, Will Campbell was getting his lunch money stolen from him every other play.
And
They're having their way with
that
him.
really surprised me too, because if you go back and watch footage from when Will Campbell and Will Anderson played against each other in college, LSU, Alabama, Will Campbell actually stood up a hell of a lot better than he did in this game. So I don't know if that's just a developmental thing from Will Anderson, or if Will Campbell might still be sort of suffering from that sprained MCL that kept him out a couple weeks at the end of the year. And if that's the point, then maybe we need to get Vidarian Lowe back in at left tackle, let Will Campbell rest a little more, because I don't think we can give up that kind of pressure against this front and be comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, so the Patriots with as many turnovers as they got, I don't know if they ended up getting another one, but at one point in the game when they had like four of them, they had only gotten 7 points off of it, and that was the return touchdown. I don't know if they scored off one later, but the game should have been over fairly quickly. The Houston Texans defense was keeping them in it, getting the ball back with those fumbles or whatever. But I was the Broncos thing seems weird to me, and I'll save it. Anyways, Patriots beat the Texans. The Texans kind of beat themselves with the turnovers. They did enough to pull away at the end, get the dub. Keith, you didn't really miss much. We went to Patriots Texans. What do you think about that game?
Uh, yeah, Texas defense, ferocious, mighty, all those kind of things. Not really surprised, but New England doing enough to get the job done. As a Patriot fan, I don't know if it's been as noticeable to you as it has been to me whenever I watch their games. Kayshawn Booty is like, sometimes he just kind of turns into like Superman occasionally, like just makes some huge plays, like at the most randomest of times.
So what a lot of people forget is the year Keishawn Booty came out of the draft, he was projected to be a second round pick. Then all of the stuff came out about him gambling on LSU games and all that. His drafts got plummeted, and we got him in the sixth round. Even going back to last year, he showed a lot of good chemistry with Drake May. I'm not surprised he's starting to do this. I'm looking forward to this week's matchup because the year that he was at LSU while Surtain was at Alabama, he had 8 catches for 111 on that defense.
Mm. Yeah, he's been huge. Obviously, Stephon Diggs has been huge. And I gotta say, Drake May throws like one of the best goal fade balls that I've seen. Like the placement is just perfect every single
Absolutely.
time. Yeah, he's tough. Like he kind of has a little bit of all the traits that you want from a quarterback, and room to improve. He'll get better at certain things, and Denver's defense is definitely going to test him. But very interesting to see them completely bounce back. Mike Vrabel, we all knew, should not have not been a head coach. It didn't really make any sense, whatever the hell Tennessee was doing with him. So the fact that New England was able to get him, and then you got McDaniels running the offense, yeah, the coaching is just solid. They built the foundation again. Offensive line getting stronger, defensive line getting stronger. I'm not surprised to see them perform the way that they did. But CJ Stroud, on the other hand, continuing the trend of Ohio State quarterbacks just being horrible is just it's unfortunate because as much as I hate Ohio State, I do like CJ Stroud, and as he's gotten to the NFL, I do want to see him succeed. But outside of that first year, I think the Texans. I don't want to take too much credit away from CJ Stroud for his own demise, I guess, but I think that the Texans have not done a very good job supporting him. In particular, the offensive line, like he's taken a beating. Got a lot of injury prone guys as well. Tank Diggs' leg, just Tank Dale's leg just kind of blows up. Nico Collins has always been kind of injury prone. The run game is like non-existent. Yeah, you can't win if you can't score any points, and
I,
they don't got it.
I don't know. This is a team that had the most rushing yards in the first round of the playoffs this year. Woody Marks has really sort of turned it on the last month of the season. My main
But that's
concern is
but if they're not running the ball well, like all season, doesn't that feel like more of an outlier than the norm?
yes and no. I mean, for most of the season, they were pretty 50-50 on Woody Marks and Nick Chubb. I think once they fully committed more to Woody Marks, they were a lot better at moving the ball on the ground. But, like Keith said, their line is a big problem. They took their best offensive lineman and traded him away this last offseason, and it's really showed. You know, they've got a lot of spots to sort of fill on the offense, but if they can keep the defense together, they'll be right back to where they were this year.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like a broken record, Keith, but if you watch a couple of the earlier episodes, I was not very well liked in the Houston area because in our AFC prediction episode, I picked the Jags to win the division, and I didn't think the Texans would make the playoffs. Based on my opinion that I don't believe in CJ Stroud yet. I'm not saying he can't ever be the guy, but I haven't seen anything that suggests that he's the guy that can put you over the top. Um, and I try to consider all the variables because he has had a lot of issues keeping or having receivers stay healthy. You mentioned Nico Collins, um, and then Tank Dell, but then also to to help sure things up, they go get Christian Kirk, who's worse than those two. And I was surprised in the draft, when they traded back to get with the Giants, so the Giants can go get Dart, that they didn't focus more on the line because that was the problem last year. But they drafted Jaden Higgins, and then they drafted an O line guy, then uh, Jalen Noel. So they got the receivers, but what good are those going to do when you don't have time to throw the ball to them? So I try to be unbiased and objective with it. I also have been saying that like the first year, the first 2 years, they look better because that was arguably the worst division in football. The Colts were bad, the Titans were awful, and the Jags were, they had Trevor Lawrence, but they were dysfunctional, and they went. This is his third coach. That Urban Meyer year was a complete disaster, and they got to beat up on some really bad teams. Um, all the credit in the world to CJ for because he's won 3 playoff games in 3 years now.
He
Not
has.
many people not many people can say that. He's got more playoff wins than the majority of the league with guys that have been around for a lot longer.
Mm.
Um, and I don't want to sound like I'm taking all the credit away from him because he's got to do his job too. It takes everybody to get the W, so he's not doing nothing. But obviously, when you have a defense like that, you can afford to make mistakes. So what happened in that game is unfortunate for him because you know, however many 4 interceptions, whatever he threw.
He had 4 in the
Um,
first half, and then that was it.
so I would like to see them address the O line. They don't really need to do much to their defense at all. And then, yeah, hopefully Nico and Jaden Higgins can stay healthy. Dalton Schultz kind of had a sneaky good year. He played all 17 games. I think he had like almost 800 yards and I think he was going on like 100 something targets. So he played solid, but he also always seems to be kind of dealing with something. He never
Mm.
seems to be 100%. So Texans kind of folded there. The weather was kind of an issue as well.
A little bit. I mean, you go back to their struggles running the ball. I don't know how much you saw it during the game, but every time they snapped the ball and it was a run play, our D line had pushed their offensive line either a yard or two back. I mean, you can't really run the ball successfully when you can't even get off of the line.
All right, here's the big fun game that I was most looking forward to. Rams Bears. Keith, be objective here. What do you think?
Oh, it's so hard to be objective. Because I don't.
Well, first of all, are you conflicted with the Stafford thing? The, do you have any
I feel
ill
like
will?
I'm one of the only ones where I'm not conflicted. I don't. I love what Matthew Stafford did for the Lions. I don't care for him in the Rams. I don't.
Oh,
Yeah, good for him that he was able to see success, and the Lions definitely should have done more to put him in a position to succeed while he was here. Also, the Lions are probably just cursed, so unfortunately, that was kind of out of their control. So, with the Rams, I was cool with it, but then there was like little talking and throwing jabs at people, and he called our star safety Kirby Joseph dirty, which I thought was weird, and I think that kind of affected Kirby Joseph's reputation as well. Also, off the field stuff, his wife is a bit cuckoo as well. So
Yeah.
just a little bit.
yeah, not really a fan of them, but good to see him succeeding, whatever, having his success. I do feel like we are kind of the upset X here, but they do have a good team. Sean McVay seems like an asshole, but he is a really good coach. They're playing well, is what I will give the Rams. The Bears, on the other hand, feel very much like there was a Vikings team a couple years ago that like point differential wasn't the greatest, got lucky in those one score games. I
And
do
then my
think they're
Giants
better
beat
than
their ass.
exactly, and then the Giants beat them in the playoffs. And to be fair,
Yeah.
I think the Bears are better than that team because I think Caleb Williams is legit. I do really think that he's moving towards hopefully being elite if he can make the easy plays as easy as they should be compared to the hard plays. But they felt a little bit lucky at the same time, so I'm not surprised that their luck eventually did run out. But it's interesting to see the NFC North be this competitive, and it's good. It's good, but also we beat the Bears both times this season, so I don't really know what to make of this division. It could completely turn the other way around. We finished in last place this year, so it could completely turn the other way around next year. But yeah, as far as the game, the Rams also give me vibes of like a team that is not good in the cold weather situations. I don't want to call them soft, but they just seem to be lacking a little bit against the Chicago defense that is not all that. So we'll see how the Rams play against the Seahawks because if Chicago's defense is giving you fits, the Seahawks are going to kick your ass.
I think they just scored again. Touchdown. I think they're still scoring on the
They
field
I
numbers right now.
no, I think they scored twice since we last looked.
Yeah,
It's
good
about
good
it's
luck to
about
them against the Seahawks.
it's about once every 10 minutes. So,
Well, when you left for a couple of minutes, I mentioned that in our group chat, our fantasy league group chat, we kind of have this running gag where one of us will randomly, when it's kind of quiet, just say touchdown Seahawks because in a lot of these games this year, they can bury you quickly because they can score all over the place. So they put it on them quick, fast, and in a hurry. Opening with a kick return and blah blah blah. But touchdown Seahawks. I'm pulling for the Seahawks big time. Um, Skydog Bears Packers
Bears Packers. We're gonna
or
talk.
Bears Rams. Shit.
You know, I like a lot of the guys on this Rams team. It's an interesting team to watch. I like their defense a lot, but man, I love watching this Bears team. God, this team is the electric at moments, but at sometimes it's like, why did Caleb try to make that throw? Why are they trying to run this? They get down at the goal line. How many times did they? Was it multiple times they had turnover on downs at the goal line instead of just taking at least one field goal? I mean, you
Yeah.
had you had a couple plays in this game that could have completely changed the tide of it. Rome Odunze dropping what should have been an easy touchdown at the goal line. He had a guy on him, but Rome's showed should be a great contested catch guy, especially against a lot of smaller defensive backs. There's a very high ceiling for this Bears team, but there's also the chance that, like Keith said, this team could just go back to being third or fourth place next year.
Yeah, so I've been very vocal about my respect and admiration for Brian Schottenheimer, but also Ben Johnson. Um, I love those post game locker room things, the good, better, best.
Just about to say it.
My girlfriend thinks it's childish, but I'm like, do you know how significant it is that it does sound childish, but you got a locker room full of grown men chanting it? He's got them believing, and when you believe,
That's all
and
you need.
you can do a
Look
lot
at
of incredible things.
look at PJ Fleck at Western Michigan. Row the
Row the
boat.
boat. Yeah.
You just got to get the team to believe, and sky's the limit.
Amazing things can happen. Ben Johnson and Brian Schottenheimer have the Cowboys and Bears kind of heading in the right direction. I've always been super high on Caleb. He does have these odd moments where he makes easy plays look difficult, but then he makes really difficult plays look easy because every game he makes a pass that you're like, I don't think anybody else can do that besides him.
I mean, that
Uh,
last touchdown, that
I
was
that
that was one of the most electric plays I've seen in a long time. That was awesome.
I was worried when it left his hand, like where's he throwing? What's going to happen here? Is it a jump ball? But amazing. But I think the better play was the 4th and 16 the week before or whatever when he throws a freaking laser beam in the air to the sideline to DJ. I think it was Rome. It was Rome. What
Was
a
it Rome?
freaking play! What a fucking throw!
I was watching that play because I think that game was on Amazon, and I was watching it with like the little Prime Vision camera,
Oh, I love that.
and I'm sitting there like, what is he doing? Like you can see it from behind, and I'm like, where is this ball? Oh my god, it landed right in his hands.
Hmm.
I I've never seen from that angle live. Like I've never seen a throw like that. Like rolling left and throwing left, like right on the
And
money over. It was insane. It was absurd.
getting hit and he's in the air, jump to throw over. It's freaking crazy. And I kind of get tired of Caleb Williams' criticism and hate. For the people at home who don't realize this, you can't believe what you read on Facebook. If it's gonna
What?
uh, if it's something that you read that kind of gets an emotional reaction out of you, do yourself a favor and Google it to see if it actually happened. Because I this is the first time where I was like, because I like Caleb coming out of college. I think he's a phenom. I think he's going to be a stud and a guy that's going to be a top, in that top echelon of quarterbacks for the next 15 years. But after like a game, he somebody made one of those little quote gif things where it's Caleb saying, the team let me down, and if everyone just did what I said, blah blah blah. You Google it, he never said that. My girlfriend, she doesn't like the Bears because she's a Lions fan and she kind of takes those rivalries personally, but she thinks that he's kind of got like not resting a bitch face, but resting like face, you know. And I'm like, every time I hear this guy talk, he sounds humble and he's always giving credit to people around him. I don't see him as like a egotistical, cocky guy. And if you're bothered by somebody painting their nails and that's what you care about, then you need to get your priorities straight. And it's fucking
Yeah,
insane.
I think Caleb's a super confident guy, and on the field and off the field. Clearly, he's very confident in who he is as an individual. And I think that makes some people just feel a little bit like, oh, like what's this guy kind of got going on? Like they expect every answer to look the exact same. Like he's an honest individual, but also he's not throwing his teammates under the bus, or he's not a character concerned guy. He's not getting arrested every other day off the field or something crazy like that. So yeah, I agree. You gotta take the person for what you see from them. Don't believe the fake quotes and all those kind of things. But
Insane.
he it frustrates me because he is easy to root for, and I don't want to root for him obviously because he's a Bears guy. But he seems very easy to root for. Seems like a very likable kid.
The thing that stood out to me most about him, uh, kind of off the field was after that Packers game, he gets a game ball from Ben, and Caleb gives it back to him and says, without, Ben's been monumental in my progression and getting me fixed. So he gives the game ball back to Ben. So you can see right now these guys are going to be best friends for life, and it's going to be scary. Kind of preseason predictions. I took the Bears to win the division and said the Lions weren't going to make it. And it was based solely on Ben Johnson going there. And, it started off kind of slow for him offensively. The Lions beat him like 52 to whatever it was. But towards the end of the season, they turned it on. And as Keith mentioned, it's not a great defense, but they're opportunistic. They did get, I think they led the league in turnovers. So that was kind of what was keeping them, from getting, giving up too many points was turnovers. But good for the Bears. I don't know. I don't have any kind of opinion about the NFC North, so I kind of just like good football. I don't like the Packers though, not anymore.
No, nobody should like the Packers.
Yeah, hate him, hate him.
I think it's funny that we just talked for like 15 minutes about this game and we don't even care about the Rams really. Besides, Kelly Stafford's weird.
Kelly Stafford's crazy. We get it. This season for the Rams has only ever felt like the script just wants it to be Stafford riding off into the sunset. It's ho hum. This is what we expected.
Yeah, and I don't want it. I don't want it. He got one. One is good enough. You got your super.
Man, could you imagine if the Lions had like Matt Stafford though? That'd be crazy. In that offense,
But be able to keep the pieces that they got in that trade because that's everyone says that's the trade where both teams kind of benefited.
absolutely. But
Yeah,
you look at what the Rams have been able to do after even getting rid of all that draft capital is that just says a lot about that organization and who's in charge of it right now. Because
I think they're back to having like
they have
like
Atlanta's
the most picks.
they have two first round picks, and I believe they're picking is it 8th or 10th that Atlanta's pick is.
I think it's 11th. I thought or something like that.
It's something about that, yeah. But that's just ridiculous. You're on a Super Bowl run. Most of your defense is still on rookie contracts.
yeah.
You're reloading again. It's just almost feels like the rich being spoiled.
Rich get richer.
Yeah,
But
and they get to play. They get to play in Southern California too. So like nice weather all the time. Like, I'm sure it's nice.
As we all sit in the cold.
Yeah,
but Keith mentioned McVay can kind of be can kind of rub people the wrong way. He's only 39 years old, guys. If he coaches for like until he's 55, 60, he can shatter like every record there is because they seem to be able. He seems to know how to put a team together. As Skylar mentioned, fuck them picks. They kind of just gambled it all, went all in, won, and now we're talking. Aaron Donald retires. Now we're already talking about him again as I would kind of. I'm going for the Seahawks, and that's kind of been like my side chick for the last 2 years. I love the Seahawks. I always kind of liked them, anyways. I kind of like the name, and I like the colors, and I
was gonna
like
say
a
I
lot of
like
their-
the uniforms. I like that franchise. It's just sort of been a team that's usually fun to watch.
and I've liked a lot of their players over the years and stuff. Just playing Madden and everything, but I would think that the Rams, because of their offense and Matt Stafford probably going to win MVP, and you got Puka and Devontae, would be like the favorites to win, even though I'm hoping the Seahawks do. But speaking of that, Patriots Broncos AFC Championship Sunday at 3 p.m. in
Yes, sir.
Denver. A little introduction. Because I have a TV right here I'm watching, but it said Kayshawn Booty and Sean Payton
Sean
are
Payton, yep.
trading barbs. Something about we'll have 2 weeks to rest after this one, and Booty says, "Well, you'll be resting in Cancun or whatever." So, hand the mic to Keith. Predictions and thoughts about this matchup.
Prediction: I'm going to take the Patriots. I can't imagine how a backup quarterback comes in and wins this game. Like, hasn't played all season, and it's not like Jared Stidham is like a Jameis Winston type backup, where like he might give you something. He also might take away a lot with the Jameis Winston, but he might give you something. Um, I don't see how they managed to score enough points against this New England team, because while the Denver defense is obviously very ferocious, I think at the same time New England's got good coaching, they got a good quarterback, they got veteran receiver, they got the pieces that can put together enough. I think New England does need to be able to run the ball successfully, at least somewhat, in this game. But if they're able to break off a few big runs, kind of be able to sustain their offense a little bit, have some longer drives, I think they can pull it off. I think they can score enough points. I think like 17 to 20 points is probably the mark that wins this game. And yeah, the way New England's defense is playing, because as much as everybody's like, oh, well, they played against this team and they kind of slowed them down a little bit, New England's defense is also playing well. They got a good secondary. They got a strong defensive line. Obviously, Vrabel is the head coach, is the guy that's going to have his guys ready to go. If Bo Nix was playing, I'd be a little more split, like maybe even lean a little towards Denver because they're at home. But with the backup quarterback, I don't see any way that New England doesn't get this done, unless Jared Stidham just has something in him that none of us saw.
Give me a score prediction.
24-10.
Okay, Skydog.
Oh, this game, this is all I've heard about all week. This is, the talking heads have been circling this one. You've got guys like Nick Wright saying that this is the bronze medal game. Whoever wins the NFC Championship's just going to win the Super Bowl. This is just basically playing for backup, backup prizes. And okay, yeah, sure. I'm not going to listen to a Chiefs fan and a Giants fan. It's a big game, but what is the identity of Denver's offense outside of Bo Nix? They haven't run the ball that well since J.K. Dobbins went down. They had last week, they had 10 carries between their two running backs. You don't win in the playoffs generally without successfully running the ball. We didn't do great last week running the ball either, but a lot of that was Travion Henderson's vision doesn't seem to be that great right now. Ramondre Stevenson looked good, but he missed a good chunk of that game it was an eye injury he was on the sideline for. So we're going to have to lean on that. Drake May is going to have to take much better care of the ball. But I'm more interested in the cornerback wide receiver matchup. I think if Denver's serious about winning this game, you take Pat Surtain and you put him on Stephon Diggs. You let Riley Moss and your safeties take the deep stuff away from Kayshawn Booty, Kyle Williams. Let whoever's covering tight ends over the middle do their job. The big matchup that they can't let get going is Stephon Diggs. I think he's a guy that can unlock unlock the defense, get things moving, and let the Patriots offense really get into rhythm.
Score prediction?
Personally, I'm leaning more like 27-13 New England.
All right, boys.
But I also would like to say before you start your rant, I'm tired of this whole don't count out Jared Stidham. We got to be humble. Look, he's been in Denver for 2 seasons. When they were having problems with Russell Wilson and Sean Payton was complaining about his quarterback, they didn't go to Jared Stidham. When they drafted Bo Nix last year, they didn't even question it. There was no quarterback battle. They went straight to Bo Nix. There was no questions this year. Jarrett Stidham is what we've seen him be. He had a good game a couple years ago with the Raiders against the 49ers when Derek Carr got hurt. Outside of that, he's a career backup. We had him. We drafted him. When Tom Brady left, he was the number one quarterback on our roster, and we said, you know what? Yeah, we're gonna go sign washed up Cam Newton. We're not gonna go to Jarrett Stidham. I'm not afraid of Jarrett Stidham. I wouldn't be surprised if he put up a couple hundred yards passing because Sean Payton is a very good offensive mind, but I don't see it being enough for Denver to win this game.
That doesn't sound biased at all. So let me just say the whole Russell Wilson and the Cam Newton thing, isn't that kind of par for the course though? Because would you kind of get the reputation, or you're kind of like pigeonholed into this role as being like the journeyman backup, that you're going to go after the guys who you think because of their track record? Cam Newton, former MVP, and went to a Super Bowl. Russell Wilson, Super Bowl champion, had great numbers in Seattle. Of course, you're not going to put Stidham in for either one of those guys when you
I
think that the physical traits and the history with those other players obviously is going to, trump whatever argument you can make for Jarrett Stidham. Go ahead and say what you're going to say before
I
I get
just
back to telling the truth.
I understand a lot of where you're coming from with that, but at the same time, Belichick and the Patriots have never really been that. They've been more of a we'll get this cheap guy that's had a successful career just to see if he pans out. But a lot of those guys didn't even make it through either training camp, preseason, or more than a couple weeks on that main roster. They drafted Stidham. He was a guy that came out, 2015 recruiting class. He was the number one dual threat quarterback over guys like Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. Like, he had the potential. I don't know what
Mm-hmm.
happened when he was at, I think it was Baylor first, and then he left and went to Auburn and sort of got a little bit of recognition. But I
Number
just,
one recruit, huh? You don't say.
yeah, 10 years ago, 11 years ago.
And he's got a lot of tread on those tires because he hasn't been having to play at all. Anyways, so
It's not always a good thing at the speed of a playoff game in the NFL.
here's what I think. Bo Nix plays pretty well. Kind of I don't like using game manager because I think everyone's a game manager, but he's kind of just takes what the defense gives him. And Sean Payton's offense, or kind of the way he calls games or whatever, annoys the fuck out of me because I think he's too conservative sometimes. A
Sometimes.
lot of times you're just like, are they trying to score here? But I think that kind of is a perfect setup for a guy that you don't want to do a whole lot anyway. Conservative kind of, keep punching them and see what if something breaks open for you. I the Bo Nix thing, obviously Bo Nix is better than Jared Stidham. I'm not gonna, hot take and say I think Jared Stidham's better. But I think kind of the unknown, the Patriots don't know how he's going to play or what they're going to game plan for or what he can do or what he can't do. And I think that kind of, when you don't know what is going to happen or what their game plan is going to be, that means you have to prepare for everything. So they're having to look at a lot of different things. Maybe they normally wouldn't if they were just planning for Bo Nix. So I think if the Broncos can run the ball effectively with or Jaleel and Harvey, get a couple balls to Sutton and Mims, maybe see an Evan Ingram, have an Evan Ingram sighting. You're at home. You got a great defense against an offensive line that was struggling, and you said that they were on pace to break the sack record. If the Texans can do that to them, then I think the Broncos can. So I obviously I think the Patriots are better, but I think weird things happen, and the thing with the Patriots, it just seems too perfect. It's happening too quickly, and it doesn't. I feel like there's going to be an upset in Denver. I'm going to take them. Keith, what'd you say? Or 17? What'd you say?
He said what it was. It
24 to
was
10.
like 20
I'm
to
going to take
10.
the
24 to 10.
Broncos 20
Yeah,
to
24 to 10.
17. And I think after watching the last couple games, I would put Sertan on Booty because he seems like the more physically dominant and athletic receiver. Then you can put Riley or other guys kind of rotate on Diggs. He's not going to burn you anymore.
If you want another 40-yard touchdown pass, please put Patrick Surtain on Keyshawn Booty. He loves contact. He's a physical wide receiver. He is the number one
Pat Surtain.
deep threat in the league this year, by metrics.
Defensive player of the year.
So I'm not
and
afraid
my favorite defensive player in the league right now.
Yeah, and he was second team All Pro.
Missed a couple games.
You know who the first team All Pro cornerback is?
Pat Surtain
the guy that
missed a
he
couple
just
games.
burned last week.
Well, you're gonna care
I don't care.
when he's got a pick six.
Yeah.
If that's your defense is he missed a couple games, then we probably shouldn't even bring it up. This is a team that struggled to run the ball last week. You're going up against one of the more stout defensive lines in football. You look at the four teams left were the four teams that generated the most pressure from the defensive interior line. We've missed Milton Williams when he got hurt late in the year, but since he's been back, this defensive line has been another
nerd noise.
huge
This is
another
all
weapon.
nerd noise.
Milton Williams and
Let me ask you a question.
Christian Barmore take so much attention that K'Lavon Chason is having a career season and looks like the guy that he should have been when he was picked in the first round of the draft a couple years ago.
Defensive Player of the Year award or first team All Pro? Oh my goodness.
Neither. I'd rather just
Oh, my
have
goodness.
the hotter defense in the
Stop
playoffs.
Yeah, I think all this conversation leads me to believe the real matchup in this game for me is Josh McDaniels versus Vance Joseph. I have no clue how these teams are going to attack each other, but one thing I know for certain is that, unfortunate to your prediction, Zach, is that the Broncos are not going to score a lot of points in this game. So whatever Vance Joseph chooses to do to try to attack Drake May, whether it's stopping the run game first and making him one-dimensional, or if it's attacking those tackles, because they do have Nick Bonito, who's pretty much as good as who the Texans had as well. He's got to find a way to keep them in the game because they are.
I think it's going to be a field position battle.
They just aren't.
And if the Texans can get a good field position and get a couple turnovers and get in the red zone and you kick a couple field goals, I think they're going to get at least one touchdown. So if you get a touchdown, maybe two, and
Absolutely.
a couple field goals, you're at home. You got a mystery at quarterback. I think you have the better defense, even though Patriots are formidable and they're up there too. But I don't because Bo Nix doesn't really, light up the scoreboard or light up the stat sheet. Jarrett Stidham doesn't have to be an above average. He just has to be okay for them to win, I think.
But to that point, you said this is the type of situation for taking the ball out of the quarterback's hands and winning a game. You have to be able to run the football, and they didn't do that last week. They won that game because of all the turnovers, which could very well happen in this game. We saw last week that Drake May is prone to putting the ball on the ground. They've got the guys flying around on the back end to get one or two big interceptions. I'm not putting that past him, but
a geek.
Josh McDaniels is also one of the best offensive coordinators I think I've ever seen. The Patriots have never won a Super Bowl without Josh McDaniels on their staff. There's a reason that.
Or Bill Belichick.
I mean, yeah, that too.
Combing through the rule book and
it goes hand in hand.
To cheat, but he can't cheat Eli.
You can't call it cheating if it's not
cheating. It's not cheating.
Prohibited by the rule book.
Practices. Why are you trying to cheat against the Jets and Browns? Why did Tom Brady destroy his phone after that deflate gate thing?
Winners win. I don't know. That's personal. That's whatever reason Tom Brady had.
So, 2 versus 1 on the dog. I'm taking Broncos. Yeah. Any final thoughts on this game before we jump to Seahawks Rams for the third time?
I will
We'll
say
go to
I
you
do
go
got to jump
first.
out in like
Seahawks
maybe
Rams.
5 minutes. Okay. Yeah, working in the college dorm. By the way, I run the
I bet.
building. It's very chaotic,
Subtle
especially when
flex. Subtle flex.
yeah, especially when a snowstorm is coming and then a bunch of people email you and tell you that the hot water is going to be shut off for the next 4 hours. Like, oh, okay, well, thanks for letting me know. So yeah, plenty of stuff to take care of with that. Rams and Seahawks, really quickly. I'm taking the Seahawks in this game. I do think that their defense, just seeing how the Rams played last week, and in general, I do think the Rams' offense can be slowed down if you come out with the structure of, for one, slowing Puka Nacua down, which is a lot easier said than done, obviously. But if the Bears could do it, I think the Seahawks can do it as well. I don't think the Rams are going to be able to run the ball very much, which is going to make them one dimensional. I don't think that the Rams' defense is good, but I think that the Seahawks can put up enough points against them. But I could also see this game going any kind of way because Matthew Stafford, again, as much as I have certain feelings about him, he is a winner, and he does find a way to usually get it done. So if this game is close and it comes down to like the fourth quarter and who's going to perform better, I could see it tilting towards the Rams' favor. But I am a big believer in this Seahawks defense. I really do think that they are going to hold the Rams down and be able to score just enough points against them. Also, Seattle home factor really does matter. They have one of the best home field advantages in the league as well. So I lean Seattle in this game, but I would not be surprised if Stafford does come out and have a legacy game because maybe that's
Skydog.
what the script determined.
Yo, I think Keith hit it right on the head. If Seattle wants to win this game, you got to slow down Puka Nacua. You've got to take him out of the situation. The game that the Rams won earlier this year was actually the game that Puka was least impactful in. They lost that last game, that great game, that overtime game. Puka had 12 for 225, two touchdowns, but you know, it's going to come down to which defense wins the takeaway battle. Both of these defenses are very well put together, very well run, but I think Seattle is more of a let you try to operate and catch you making the mistake. The Rams are the better pass rush to me. I think if they can get Darnold uncomfortable like they did that first game where he threw four interceptions, this is going to be here comes Matt Stafford making it, either a touchdown or a 10-point win. But I think this one's going to be a low scoring game. I think it's going to be more trying to establish the run, trying to lean on Ken Walker, trying to lean on Kyron Williams, and then trying to, lull the defense into a sleep and beating them on a couple
Score
big
predictions,
passes.
Keith. Did you give a score?
No. The Seahawks score at least one touchdown that's not by their offense. I'll say 30-21 Seattle.
I think I'm going to go the other way. I think I'm going to take Los Angeles in this one. I think I'm going to go like 24-21. I think it's going to be more of a low scoring game, but I think the Rams are going to outlast Seattle. I think they're going to find their way
Oh
back to the
man,
Super
I'm
Bowl.
I'm very conflicted because I do have a strong bias for the Seahawks. It's not anything anti-Rams, but I just really like the Seahawks. I think they're both evenly matched. It is in Seattle. They're currently a 2.5 point favorite. I don't know if Keith you were in here when we said it, but me and Skyler both kind of like the same thought when it was found out that Charbonnet is not going to be playing. He's hurt or whatever. That I think it makes the Seattle offense running game better because I think Ken Walker is clearly better than Charbonnet. And then also I believe in rhythm. I believe that this rotation thing where everyone's kind of like rotating series with running backs because the Rams do it too with Corum and Kyron. Our Seahawks are just as guilty for doing it with Charbonnet and uh, Kenny because alternate series. And I just think you take them out of rhythm, you let them kind of cool down, or I think if you stay loose and you're staying in the game and you make a couple big plays, it gets you going. So I like that for them. I think Seahawks have a slightly better defense. They're at home. I'm going to take the Seahawks 23-20. Now, Keith, are you going to be on for long? Are you done after the when you leave in a couple minutes or? Well, because
Yeah, yeah, I
my
gotta jump
error in
off.
the
I got a meeting.
beginning, I don't think we talked about college football yet on this episode because we kind of fucked it up.
No, we did. We did. That's where we
I thought,
jumped in.
but I feel
Was
like
the
that
college
was when
football
we weren't
playoff?
recording,
Yeah,
and
the
then I
Indiana
started the.
Miami.
No, no, no. We covered it when we weren't recording, and then we
Oh,
came
okay,
back
that's what
in.
we
We
skipped.
skipped
All
over
right,
the
then I'm
Patriots
stupid.
stuff until later.
So
Jump right in
we're
on
so
the
we're gonna
college
have a
football.
Seahawks Broncos rematch in the Super Bowl, and the Seahawks are gonna get it done again. Keith, you want to sign off and tell the folks at home once again who you are, where you're from, what you're doing, and what they can do to show some support.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it very much for having me on. And definitely will make sure that we get you guys on again at some point. 411 Lions podcast. Me and my sister do that. Again, so feel free to look us up on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. She does a good job of managing the account. So again, shout out to my sister Sierra. With that being said, though, everybody stay safe out here. I know some of y'all are already getting pounded with snow. It looks like we're going to get pounded with snow. So get you some groceries, stay in the house, cook. Have a
And real
great
quickly
weekend.
too, before you go,
Yeah, and watch
Giants
sports.
are playing in Detroit again this year, and I don't know if I mentioned it to you or your sister, but might be a good opportunity. Maybe I'll meet up. But me and my buddy Jackson was just talking about going to a Pistons game because he's all Detroit sports too. And I was looking at towards the end of the schedule in mid to late March, the Lakers come to Detroit. I like to see LeBron before he retires, and then
Mm.
the Golden State Warriors are there like a 2 or 3 days before that one's on Friday, one's on a Monday. But I like to see Steph as well. So kind of looking at that, maybe we can set something up or do something like that. Maybe I know you're in New Jersey, so it's not as uh, it's not as easy for you to get there, especially with work and everything being on Fridays and Mondays. But we'll keep in touch. Thanks for coming on.
Yes, let me know. I'll be around, and definitely
Absolutely.
I'm quick to
Skydog,
catch a flight
sign
back
off.
home.
Thoughts,
So just let me
comments.
know.
Uh, no, I'm just amped up for this weekend. We had a little basketball talk. I think it should just be known that, few weeks here when we get Jason Tatum back, we can take our number one spot in the East back, and we'll, you know, sit comfortably having this Patriots run and maybe another Celtics championship, and then we can all be sad during baseball season watching the Red
The
Sox be the Red
Pistons and the
Sox.
Celtics are only looking better than they should because my Pacers are taking a year off.
Well, I
Good
mean,
for them. I'm glad they
I think we
are.
should just stay
when's
the rest
Tyrese
the whole
Halliburton
year.
supposed to be back?
But this has
I mean,
been
at this
Jive
point, might as well.
Sports with 411 Lions Pod, Keith, the Sky Dog, and some guy named Zach. I hope everyone has the greatest day ever. Wash your hands, wash your rice, don't litter, and drink some water. Be nice to each other. Do something good for somebody. Cheers.